the ancient India system or the model where the Varnas that we talk about, where there is the Brahmins, there are Kshatriyas, there are Vaishyas, and there are Shudra. So these were the four categories of occupation or the Varna system that ancient India had, and each of them were very clearly linked to each other. Like say Brahmin, who's it's not just about birth in a Brahmin family. It is about what karma you do as a Brahmin, right? So if even after having a birth as a Brahmin, if you are not delivering the duties of a knowledge seeker or a knowledge giver person should have, then you are not a Brahmin, by the way. So the ancient India model was a more of a karma based structure of society, which was keen on prioritizing duties rather than rights, and where the Brahmins were the knowledge seeker and knowledge giving people who were not supposed to be inclined to a materialistic life, but they were to be dependent on their own security over the Kshatriyas, which is the second section. The Kshatriyas were very powerful, who were supposed to take and they can exert power. Uh, the king or the ruler is supposed to follow the Shastra Dharma, which is about defense. It's very important part of the Indian structure society, ancient India structure, and following Shastra Dharma meant that he as a has the duty and obligation to protect dharma with offense and defense, not just defense but also offense, right? So he had the power of weapons. He could execute that power, that particular section, but then he is not supposed to be inclined into again money making activities. For that, he was supposed to depend on the taxes collected from the third section of the society, which are called as Vaishyas. Now, the Vaishyas would take the risk, would get security from the Kshatriyas, but the Vaishyas is not supposed to exert power or use weapons, right? So this is how the entire society structure was distributed in a fashion where each section was dependent on the other section in a very beautiful way, and this is how the karmas defined how you operate, and it was not about the birth. These are some kind of distortions and fake narratives which are being peddled, that by birth discrimination. This was not discrimination, right? So I believe that when India goes back to the Sanatan model of economics, by the way, that's the second book that I'm working on. When India goes back or transitions from this current position to there, uh, automatically the kind of defense and this perspective of dharma will take prevalence over all other useless things that have gotten from the Western templates. Specifically because if you look at the ancient India structure of governance specifically, you will find that India lost out in front of the invaders with only one problem, and that problem was that India was the most modern society at that point in time, with complete autonomy to all the Janapada structure, Janapadas that we had in India. So it was like it's a basket or a bunch of different flowers. That was the kind of society India had become, wherein there was no central hold to hard power. I mean, the Janapada structure could not consolidate hard power for defense at the center, which is why we lost out to the invaders. So it was not that we were weak, or it is not that we were unknowledgeable or something like that. It was The problem was we were very modern in that day and age, that we had given so much liberties to the Janapada structure that the hard power could not be consolidated at the center. This is why we lost out in front of invaders. And beware, this particular government has the primitive, brutal nation state concept of the Western template right now. So the kind of power consolidation that we have of hard power right now in Delhi is astonishing. So if any enemy power is going to try any kind of a mischief with India, they are going to be beaten black and blue. So, Adityaji, a lot of our population is completely detached with the institutions that you are talking about. So when you say this classroom model system which the Britishers imposed all over the world, one of the objectives of coming up with this classroom model system, why Britishers imposed it in all of its colonies, is was the objective of churning out slaves for running factories, the industrialization factories which British Empire was looking at. So they wanted people to be stuffed within four walls for 15, 20 long years, so that they are totally out of sync with the market realities and cannot enterprise at all. Because once you are stuffed within those four walls for 15, 20 long years, and that too, if you look at the tool which is used in the classroom model, you are being told to focus on what you are not good at, if you realize the classroom model. And after those 15, 20 years of investment, now the person the person is going to get trying to earn some money, and he has now no window left to try any kind of enterprising. Now the company which is hiring him, for the next 30 years of his life, that the HR fellow is trying to search what he is good at. Do you see how ironical the system is? And it is going to collapse on its own, because enterprising is something which is natural, and the job model is only for those people who are unable to learn the enterprising skills, and or they are physically incapacitated in some form or the other to do some kind of enterprising. Now, this was imposed by Britishers on all its colonies with the core objective that people don't question uh, those output of classroom, don't question the state, they don't question, they don't think about independence, they don't think about individual rights, and that is how, men and women both being looked upon as some kind of a unit of labor for these industrial factories. And they are, it's like a human trafficking to companies for jobs, that kind of a model. This is the British imposed model on the entire colonies world over. This is not just about India, it's about the entire world. So this is the form of education. Now, what form of education ancient India had was a Gurukul system in the Mandir campuses, where skills based education used to happen. And some of the concepts of the ancient India Gurukul system are recently being stolen, should I say, or taken over by some of the Western institutes, is what we call the student and faculty research exchange, which used to happen between university campuses in ancient India, between the Gurukuls. Um, some of the concept of entrepreneurship which are recently being copied from ancient India by the Western institutes is the concept of internship and articleship training. So the West is trying to ape and copy some of these ancient India stuff, but we are still not there. And which is why the entire content and structure which the current Indian system has is entirely a copy of the Western templates, which is why the rural India or the enterprising India, the wise, the ones who carry the civilizational wisdom, still do not agree to any of these concepts which the Western copied institutions in India propagate. Which is why you will still find 60-70% of the population still on the self-employment and enterprising mode, still functioning on that mode, because they actually don't believe that this Western system works. So when I see these foreign universities looking at India, trying to set up campuses in future in India, I believe a lot of the ancient India wisdom is actually going to be transported back to the West via these Ivy League institutes which are going to be established in India. It's actually going to be reversed. It's ancient India now going to tell the world, hey, what was going on was very temporary, short minded, and short term. This is what long term looks like. This is what vision looks like. And this is what education should look like.